wait, Rebecca to come
Wait,
back.
Rebecca, come back.
All right, good evening, welcome to the Finance Board meeting, August 20th, 2025. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:14 PM. The first item on the agenda tonight is the reorganization of the board. We had briefly talked about this at our last meeting in June, but made the decision to postpone any discussion on it until we met again, so here we are. In June, I mentioned that I have been the chair of the Finance Board for the last 2 years, so kind of under the kind of bylaws, it's my turn to step aside as chair and have the board taken over by someone else that is on the board. So do we have anyone who would like to take on that position?
I would be willing to take it on.
So would I.
Okay, does anyone have a motion that they would like to make? Okay, that's a tough one. So I guess.
I guess I do have a question. Just coming from a lack of understanding and knowledge, what is the opinion of the board as far as someone that has overall knowledge of the operation of this particular board to be chair, or just an overall view of parliamentary procedure as to if they're able to run the board or not? Because, I mean, I think it comes down to that. I believe we have one candidate that has knowledge of the board and its operations of the board, but then we also have another candidate who has, I think, an overall knowledge of the parliamentary process of the town. So I'm at a quandary as to, for that position, what would be the right fit, and I'm just curious to know what the board feels as far as where that should really be. Whether it's, specific focused to this particular board's needs, or would it be better to have someone have an overview of everything?
I would think you can have both.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I think either role is sufficient in terms of this board. We are an advisory board, so we do a lot of interactions with other departments. So even if you have to know every minute detail about town finance, no, because we have Rebecca, we have Ellen, we have the treasurer collector, who are more specialized in those areas.
As well as the department heads.
The department heads in that aspect. So I feel like either or is sufficient for the role on the finance board. I mean, we know from like past experience, and myself included, like recruiting members to the board, one of the things we always say is you don't have to have finance knowledge. And if there's information you need to pick up, we're always more than willing to
Guide.
get that information out to everyone, or, point people to where to get that information. So I personally don't have you need to know the finance aspect, or you need to know the town aspect. It's for me, you want to step up and.
Okay, so I guess my next question is, am I allowed to put a motion forth to suggest a chair and vice chair in one motion, or do they have to be separate?
No, they could be together if that is what you wanted to do.
Okay, all right, well, I guess I'll get the ball rolling. I'll put forth a motion for Bill O'Neill as chair and Adam Hayward as vice chair.
Okay,
Okay. I'll second that motion.
okay. Is there any other discussion on that?
I guess as far as the candidates, that's sufficient, you can function within those titles and meet the demands of those without any issues or problems.
I have no issue with it.
Okay, all right, I'm good. No more questions.
Okay.
I think, Bill, you've done this before, right?
Uh,
I know you
yeah, maybe. I mean,
were- Yeah.
been around for a long time, so couldn't tell you. I do have a pretty good memory, but I was chairman of the select board, but I'm not sure I've ever been chairman of this board before. But that's okay. I've run a few in my time.
Okay, so there's a motion, there's a second. Any other discussion?
No, I got my answers, thank you.
Okay. All right, all in favor of the motion on the floor for Bill as chair and Adam as vice chair?
Aye.
Two. I guess
I-
you guys,
Am I voting?
you guys can vote too, I guess, otherwise,
They can vote for each other.
I was hoping to vote no against myself, just in case it didn't work out, you know what I
Plausible
mean?
deniability.
Yeah, there you go. But okay,
so,
yeah,
Yes.
okay.
okay, so then that's a unanimous vote. Okay,
This,
Okay, so I guess.
this won't
it's-
come under review by legal, will it?
This was done, executed flawlessly.
okay, so then
I guess.
technically, I guess, Bill, you take over.
All right, so, well, first of all, I want to thank my fellow committee members for their confidence in me. I appreciate that, I really do. Second, if the committee members will indulge me for a moment, I'd like to maybe put in a couple of rules that maybe would help facilitate a more organized debate as we go on. First of all, if we could refrain from talking over each other, I think that would help the discussion enormously. Second, whenever I've run a committee or board, I've always given everyone equal opportunity to state their opinions, ask the questions. I always start at one end. For the beginning, they'll start at the other end. I always choose to go last because most of my questions may have been asked and answered in the interim, so I won't waste time. So I'll go last and give the committee members the first opportunities to go. Second is, if I could indulge my committee members one more time, if we could limit the discussion to 5 minutes on first passes and then 2 minutes on second passes, I think that will eliminate a lot of potential pontificating by some members and also keep the discussion moving along forward in a positive direction and not make it get stuck in the mud. If everybody could agree to that, I would appreciate it, because I think that's really boils down to one simple word, and that's just respect for each other. Agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, super. So, let's get on with it. So, right now, we have a chairman and a vice chair. Thank you, Adam, very much for stepping up. It's not an easy thing to do, as with all the members here. I appreciate your commitment to the town and to the taxpayers and for what you do and for your time and efforts. It's not easy, time away from your family and things you'd rather be doing. So thank you, sincerely thank you for being a part of this committee. Next, I think we have to elect a secretary. Now, obviously, our dear Ruth has done a tremendous job for, I think, 3 out of the last 4 years. So it would be really nice if somebody could step up and maybe take that duty from her, because as great as she's done, I think she could use a break. I don't think anybody could disagree with me on that one. So could we have somebody maybe volunteer to take minutes and be the secretary? Go ahead. You don't even have a microphone in front of you. What are you doing?
I'm a mess today. So I would like to bring your attention to the fact that we have started using Zoom as a recording platform, and they do have AI technology that allows for notes to be taken during the meeting. So whoever is going to step up for that role, please note that you will have the transcript available from the meetings, from the recordings, which might make it a little bit more manageable for anyone who did want to step up. You might have to alter some of the content for the accuracy, but it does make it a lot less of a burden than having to take them by hand throughout the meeting or re-watch the meeting, which I know sometimes you have to do as well. So that's just a little bit of information I'd like to share with the board before you move forward with your decision.
Committee.
Committee.
So what she's really saying, for anybody that's been to school and had to study Shakespeare, is she's got Cliff Notes. Okay, so, well, you can cheat. So based on that and the ease of functionality, does anybody care to take on that role? I won't look at anybody and kind of, suggest.
I'll volunteer.
Ah, what a guy. I knew we could count on
Right
you.
out of the blue like that.
Yeah, who would have known?
Dodging me, so-
You know? It's.
Once I've heard about the Cliff Notes, I'm all in.
I,
Just make it a lot quicker.
I do have a technical question, though. With the recordings being tabulated by AI, how does the system interpret for him to identify the speaker?
Exactly, so that's why it would be important to have somebody on the board that would then take the notes and be able to put those into context based upon their presence at the meeting.
Okay.
Go.
Well, then, I shall make the motion that we make Mark the secretary.
I will second that. Is there any further discussion on the motion?
Congratulations, and I wish you well.
Seeing as there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Terrific. We now have a secretary in place, so the board is now completely reorganized as far as I know. Is that correct, Michelle?
Yes.
Right? All right. So let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is updates from the representatives on the CPC and the trash and recycle. So I will let CPC begin first, and I will take over the trash and recycle afterwards.
Excellent. So for our projects we've got going on this year, 3 of them have been kicked off. The Trails Enhancement Project they're conducting a review of the trails and the placement of the structures and whatnot, and coming up with a plan to go forward. The Congregational Church is working on getting the paperwork in order, the preservation restriction, and then they'll be moving forward with that project. And then we had a kickoff meeting with the affordable housing project, and the consultant is, coming up with a plan for that. I think Rebecca can speak to that better than I can. And then the 46 Washington Street project, we still have not kicked off yet. That's a pretty simple project. It's just the environmental testing of the building itself. I believe, talking with Mike, he may be waiting for the feasibility study to go first and then follow in behind and do that. So that may not happen till a little later on. And I actually met with the Vito people for the project that was extended from, that had expired. And they're still kind of formulating a plan as to how they want to move forward with it. But it's looking like there's not enough money to complete the project, so we may have to scrap it and resubmit it, or try and find a way to make it work. But we're still kind of tracking down all the information on that before a decision can be made.
Awesome. Thank you. Is that it?
That is That's all the new ones.
All right, so we'll start the questioning at the left end of the table this time with Mark. Have any comments, questions about the CPC projects that Adam brought forward?
No, I don't have anything in mind.
Melissa?
No questions. I know people have shared on like Facebook the concerns about the trails and stuff like that, but I personally, I have let them know, like, we have a project in place.
No, and I've got in there too, much to my chagrin.
You know.
They are focusing, they're gonna focus on doing the bridges in the Meadow Pond first, because that's the biggest area of need.
Awesome. Anything else?
No?
Brian?
No, not at this time,
Okay.
not at this time.
I don't have any questions either, so
All right,
we'll just.
me either.
Keep us in the loop on these projects as they evolve, and I'm sure down the road we'll have some questions. Trash and recycle, we're gonna have a lot of questions on this one, I know that. So,
Isn't this you?
yes, this is definitely me. So, I'm sure by now, all of you out there in TV land have received your beautiful 96-gallon recycle containers. Hopefully, we all use them practically. Right now, we are still in the process. We're going to meet with the Select Board on the 15th, where there is a public meeting. The first thing I'd like to say about the Trash and Recycle Committee is we've been working on this for approximately 2 years, and we realized going in that one thing is just not obtainable, and that is a one-size-fits-all, unless we go back to unlimited trash. It's just not going to happen. That is the difficulty that we as the committee were presented with. That we know that no matter what decisions are made, it's not going to fit everyone's lifestyle. And that's unfortunate, but, we're making these decisions not for ourselves, but for the benefit of the town as a whole. As any of you members know that have been on this committee for any length of time, there are a lot of line items on the budget, but there are very few line items that we can actually impact. This is one of them. It's typically a 5-year contract, and basically, to put it in a nutshell, if we blow it for the next 5 years. So we're trying to be very frugal, we're trying to be very diligent, we're trying to be very precise in what we are asking for, and trying to be very realistic in our expectations of what we can accomplish. We're formulating a plan now which would culminate in a request for a proposal, is that correct? To some extent, so that we can begin to feel out the contractors in the area to see what they can do for us as far as containing our costs. Because going forward, this is a very, very large line item on the budget. There are very few landfills that are not reaching capacity quickly. All the incinerators in the area are at 98% capacity, which is max. There will be no new landfills in the foreseeable future, and that's simply because of NIMBY. Not in my backyard, right? Everybody wants a new landfill, but not in my backyard. So what that is going to mean is someone will cave, but the cost of the cave will be extraordinary. They will take our junk and our trash, but at an extraordinary cost. So we've spent the last 2 years trying to formulate a plan to contain those costs as best as we can going forward. So that's where we are right now. There'll be public comment on the 15th. Hopefully, I'm going to be working with Rebecca in the next couple of weeks to put together some rather realistic numbers on what that would look like going forward if we do nothing. And then some numbers trying to anticipate what that might look like, given, what we think we can do. So that's where we are right now with the trash and recycle. If I had any more, if I had any brilliant suggestions, I would have brought them up during this time. I know it's going to be difficult for some people. It's going to be difficult for me at times. I'm not going to lie. But if this was all about me, or all about any one single person in this town, then we'd go back to unlimited and we'd all, just suffer the consequences. But it's not about any one individual person or family. It's about the survival and the fiscal viability of the town going forward. And that's where we stand in with the trash and recycle. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them as best as I can. But that's where we are right now. So we'll start at this end of the table, and Brian, shoot.
Well, it's more of a comment. I'm sure, as you realize, communicating the Trash and Recycle Committee and the positions that they're taking, and they want to project out to their community. Perception is everything, and I think part of that perception comes across in how the information is disseminated out to the community. And part of that is you have people that do their dissertation to the community as to whatever element of discussion they're talking about. And I think the committee needs to understand that they have some people that don't really speak all that well in trying to disseminate that information. And I think it's important that they understand that so that it shows a sense that the person that's doing the speaking is somewhat not knowledgeable. They are not, I can't really think of the right word. They're not knowledgeable of it. They're not really behind what they're saying, things of that nature. And I think that is going to have a negative impact on trying to get this overall to pass for the town. I myself find a need and a benefit by what the committee is doing, but I think the person that they have doing the speaking, whether it's to the select board, during the Trash and Recycle Committee, when they have this person on site, the constant ums and ahs don't bode well. It shows, like I said, a sense of not knowing what they're talking about, not being comfortable with what they're trying to say. And I think the community will pick up on that, and it may show negatively upon what the Trash and Recycle Committee is trying to do. So I would just simply ask the Trash and Recycle Committee to really look at who's doing their speaking and conversations for them in open forum and open meeting form, and really sit back and debate as to should we really put, a form together and have someone that knows how to talk clearly, concisely, without interruptions, without these pauses and things of that nature, because I really feel that it doesn't show well. And I think that may have a negative impact on how people look at what the committee does and how they may potentially vote or not vote for something.
Yeah, I wish you'd expound on that. And my only comment to that would be, some people aren't as comfortable speaking in public as others. And because of that, I don't think anybody should hold that against them for maybe that lack of comfort and stepping out of their comfort zone to try and explain or present something to the town. That they're trying their best to do. I haven't been party to any of those presentations to the select board. I was probably at one of numerous baseball tournaments that my grandson and my son were involved in over the summer. But if you'd expound on that individual, and we're probably not going to do it here in open session, not to embarrass anyone, but that would be enlightening to.
As, I assume as long as we don't break any rules, I have no problem discussing with that you offline. But, you know, when you bring an expert in, the expert should have a level of
okay.
confidence in their dissertation that they provide to the community, whether it's the
Okay.
specific trash and recycle committee or to the general public. There needs to be that level of knowledge that they have, which I'm sure they do. I'm not questioning that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the dissertation out to the public and how it's presented at this point in time leaves, I can tell you from my perspective, I question the authenticity of the information, the accuracy in it, and the real belief behind what this representative is saying, even though, you know, they may say 5 minutes later, you know, I believe this or I believe that. Well, that hesitation, that pause, that, you know, ahs and ums, it just signals something different. And I think there may be other people that are better suited within the Trash and Recycle Committee that could be the face for that.
Yeah,
So,
and now
I mean, we'll leave it at that.
I'm well keyed in on what you're talking about now. We'll discuss it at length after. the
Thank you.
meeting. Adam?
My only comment, question, not really question, I guess more of a comment, is as we're deciding what size barrels to go with for the trash pickup, I think it's very important to have the numbers. If we go with the 35-gallon one and half the town needs 2 barrels and now we're picking up, you know, 10,000, 12,000 barrels instead of 6,000, what's the cost impact of that? And I'd like to see, before the decision is made, I'd like to see some real numbers on it. And then I would just urge, you know, you guys put out a survey and you got the results back of the survey and 60% of the people say the 35 gallons isn't enough. Granted, it wasn't a town-wide survey, not everybody responded, but, you know, the people that did take the time to respond to the survey, you know, if 60% of the people what was it, 800 people that did the survey?
Somewhere in that, yeah.
Somewhere in the neighborhood, 60% of those people said 135 gallon isn't enough. I mean, average that out over the town, and I don't think it is. My personal opinion, I know my family can't do it. And I'll put out 4 recycling carts and I still can't do it. And the response I got back was, oh, well, if people have 64 gallons, they'll fill it with 64 gallons, we need to cut down what we put in. And I just firmly disagree with that. No one's running around their house on trash day saying, oh, my barrel's not full, let me find more stuff to throw away. You're gonna use what you're gonna use, and that's it.
True enough. One of the difficulties your question presents is we don't really know, and it would be very difficult to estimate without some kind of survey, and everyone would have to respond as to how many additional 35-gallon containers, theoretically, if we went with 35-gallon containers, how many additional 35-gallon containers would be required or would be requested. That would be, I think, a rather difficult number to estimate. Maybe we could say, you know, throw a number out and say, you know, okay, 55% will require, and then we could, you know, come up with some numbers. It's not an easy choice. And I started off by saying it's going to be difficult at times for me. I've got a rather large family myself. But the options are very few. We cannot, from a fiscal point of view, and that's the way I look at it, that's my function on the Trash and Recycle Committee. The environmental part is all great, but I'm just looking at strict numbers. And the numbers say that where we are now is just not sustainable. We will have to make some hard choices in cutting some other services in order to balance the budget in the very near future if we leave this line item as it is and make no adjustments at all. Part of the 35-gallon extra request will come with, would come with a fee that would partially offset some of the extra tonnage that was collected. Now, as far as collecting 6,000 versus 12,000, if they were all similar containers, which is what we're aiming for, which is why the recycled containers are all the same, we're looking for an operator that will have an automated collection system so that each barrel has to be identical in order to obtain that measure of automation, in order to get the contractor to come down on his costs, because now if the driver doesn't have to leave the vehicle, it cuts down on his costs through workers' comp and items like that. So, again, like I started saying, we understood from the get-go 2 years ago, this is never going to be a one-size-fits-all for everybody unless it's unlimited, and that's just not doable. But-
Agreed. If I can just retort
Yeah.
on one thing on that is, I think you need to look at it more of going to the automated collection is gonna save X, right? That's a fixed number to some level,
We just know what.
We're kind of putting it all together. We're reducing tonnage and going to automated collection. What if we just did automated collection and kept it how it was? What would that number look like? I don't know if you guys have had these conversations or have these numbers.
No.
I understand the tonnage is what the tonnage is, but there also comes a point where sometimes, like, I go to Market Basket, everything comes in trash, comes wrapped in trash. And until that changes, just limiting how much people can throw away isn't solving the problem, it's just putting the problem somewhere else. Who knows where that's gonna be?
Right. We don't have, there isn't a number for that, and simply because of the fact that we don't have a request for proposal from anyone out there that's going to say, hey, if you go to 100% automation, this is what your cost is gonna be versus this. So we do not have that now because we haven't got to the point where Rebecca can go out with that RFP and get those kind of numbers. The second thing is, your second item was the,
It was all kind of wrapped into one, it's just,
the second item was, everything you get at Market Basket is consumable, but a lot of it is also recyclable. The cardboard, after you finish the box of Cheerios, all that is recyclable. It doesn't have to go in the trash, it goes into that great big 96-gallon, it's like, you open a can of tuna fish, you wash out the can of tuna fish, guess what, that's metal, it goes in the recycle. You finish the gallon of milk with your Cheerios, right? You wash that out, it doesn't go in the trash, it goes in the recycle. So if we really think about it, and we make a concerted effort, you would be amazed, I think, at the amount of trash that you can divert from trash to recycle. Fair enough, right?
There's
We
four
can try.
96-gallon barrels of recycling at the end of my driveway every week, like, we recycle.
Yeah,
But
so do I.
The trash is still the trash.
And you know what? I've got a family of 4. I got 5 grandkids, 2 in-laws, and I seldom will go over 130, 132-gallon barrel a week, other than holidays. Holidays are a killer. I get it, you know what I mean? And even holidays, wrapping paper, I throw into the recycle bin, because I figure that's paper, right?
A lot of times, I've had my recycling kicked back too, though, that if something that wasn't in there, now they don't want to take the whole barrel, now I'm going through and sorting out. I say, there's no perfect answer, I understand it's an impossible situation you're in, I totally get it, but to make a decision without having some sort of numbers is,
Well, until we have some kind of,
So we do know that the savings from moving to automated will be to about $50,000 to $100,000, somewhere in between that realm. So we do know automatically that's what the savings will be in terms of the overhead and the cost that the haulers are telling us, just from a general estimate perspective, and that's from multiple haulers. The issue that we're having is that the tonnage cost is still going up, and it's still the same, and a lot of the haulers are charging the same tonnage cost because they're experiencing the same problems of trying to dispose of the waste and the cost to dispose of the waste. So that's the aspect that we can't control. We're always gonna know what our hauling cost is, what we have to pay the hauler. The tonnage cost is where things get a little bit more of an estimate. We estimate based upon prior year trends that we're gonna dispose of X amount of trash throughout the year. And then we take the tonnage and we multiply that and we come up with an estimate and we cross our fingers and we pray. So that's the part that the Trash and Recycling Committee are trying to narrow down the number so that we can be more reasonable when we're budgeting that figure, because we know what we're allowing people, and that whatever we're not allowing people, they're actually paying for that additional disposal of that trash. So the hauling cost is really kind of a fixed cost that you're seeing throughout every contract moving forward. And we can, again, predict that we're gonna get about $50,000 to $100,000 in savings just from moving to automated. But they still have fuel costs, they still have delivery costs, they still have their labor costs. So again, that's not really necessarily gonna change. It's gonna decrease some, but not really much changes are gonna happen there. It's really on the tonnage side that we're looking for a little bit of relief and a little bit more predictability, and then a little bit more assurance to say, if you want more, then you have to pay. But we'll offer you this as a starting point. So that's kind of where we are right now in terms of the differences between what we know for cost and what we don't know for cost. But the hauling cost is kind of the one, again, that's a little negotiable based upon where their closest recycling facility is, where their closest incinerator is, or landfill. So that plays into how you can talk to the haulers and figure out what's more feasible for them. Do they have a close community that they're working? Do they already have trucks in the area that can support the area in Groveland? So that's when it's a little bit more negotiable. But the tipping fee is a tipping fee. That's the cost, and that's not gonna change. I mean, some might be able to offer you $1 less, some are gonna offer you $5 more, but I mean, they're pretty much in line. It's not like you're getting a huge savings where one's gonna say your tipping fee is 103 and, oh, in Groveland it's gonna be 50. That's just not gonna happen. That's not being offered by any of the haulers. So again, it's the tonnage that drives that. That fee is really not gonna change much.
Melissa?
I've been following this pretty closely, because also a family of 5 with 1 64-gallon trash barrel every week and 1 to 2 recycling barrels every week. And I get the need of reducing the tonnage is the key. So we're gonna save in that automated process as well.
Apologies, your mic is muted.
I'm sorry. We're gonna save in the tonnage process as a whole if we're saying, oh, everyone has to go into this, 35-gallon and you have to pay for that extra. But do we know if they're, yes, there's this fee for this extra barrel that as a resident, we would pay, a small fee. I think, what did you say? Like, I think you guys were throwing out we don't know what that
I heard
number
like
is,
$200 or something.
but what are they gonna charge to now have to pick up additional barrels? Or you can put out as many barrels as you want, we're not gonna charge you anything more. Then your tonnage isn't gonna go down. You're just gonna hope that that barrel fee is enough to cover what they're gonna charge to pick up those, how do you, there's.
So that's part of the conversations with the haulers. We've had some haulers say that they'll charge for an extra bin, and we've said some haulers that won't. So there is that type of competitive nature between the different companies and what they're trying to put forward. So we do have, we've seen both options available. And obviously, from my perspective, the one that does not charge for the extra is preferred, obviously. Because then, to your point, that if they did go for 132 and then you get an extra, or if they did potentially go 164 and you get an extra, that extra, you can put a fixed price on the actual price of the cart and what the tonnage would be expected for that one cart, and you can charge that to the resident where that first cart is free or covered under the initial contract price.
So those are all those minute details that make it extremely difficult to, oh yeah, sure, great, reduce the tonnage, but you buy that out of barrel, and if now that barrel is costing more than $200 a year, you're not saving anything.
No, and I don't know if it's going ever be designed to completely absorb that extra barrel. It's just designed to help offset some of the extra costs that may be, or that will be, obviously accumulated with that extra barrel, because it's extra tonnage, no doubt.
But it doesn't drive people to reduce the tonnage if they know, okay, I pay $200, but it's not gonna change the cost to the town, or it's not gonna have a significant impact on it. There's concern about if you're actually gonna drive people to reduce the tonnage, or if they're gonna, see it as like another way of
Pay the fine.
pay the fine,
And throw away
like,
whatever you want.
throw it over,
Listen, I get it, and we're just an advisory committee that is doing our best to look at a very serious problem that is a very huge cost and line item on our budget, and doing the best knowing that we are never going to come up with a solution that makes everyone happy. It is just a fool's errand. And I don't think that I would waste any time and effort trying to find a one-size-fits-all, because that's just, it's not attainable. It's not doable, so.
Oh, I completely agree.
So what we're trying to do is find the best possible solution for the majority of the residents, as well as the budget of the town. And at the end of the day, we don't have any say-so on the matter. We're just an advisory. So, again, folks out there, they've been trying to beat me up on this for a couple of years. You can beat me up all you want, but it's your decision at the end of the day. And like the old, commercial from Fram, you can pay me now or you can pay me later. But make no mistake, folks, you're gonna pay. You're gonna pay. There's just no way around it. It's just no way around it. It's not sustainable without dramatic cuts other places in the budget. And right now, we don't know what the school budget's gonna look like. And again, this is a 5-year deal. It's a 5-year deal. You make a mistake on this, you lock this town in for 5 years of real tough times. If you don't get it right, there's no getting out of it for 5 years. You can't claim bankruptcy, right, Rebecca, and get out of the contract. Once you sign, you're in. You're stuck. So it is very important, vitally important, that we get this right this time. And again, I'm going to say it, I'll say it 1,000 times more. We understand that this is not going to be easy on everybody. It's just not. The alternatives, I think, are going to be more difficult. We were driven to this point because people in the past and the leniency of this town and the administrators in this town to allow people to throw it as much as they wanted, whenever they wanted, has driven us to this point, where now we have very little alternative. So I understand people are angry out there. That they're not going to be able to throw it as much as they want. There's other people that are angry that, we've been driven to this point. And that's, I don't know. Listen,
You're doing a great job absorbing the bullets.
if I had a magic wand, believe me, I would have pulled it out of my rear end a long time ago and waved it and made all this fixed. There is no magic panacea. None. This is reality, folks. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, we're just gonna have to find a way to deal with it as best as we can. or else it will bankrupt this town. It will be one of the things that bankrupt this town, and I can promise you, if we go to the town with an override for trash, you'll be laughed out of the building, if you can get 100 people to show up, that is. It won't happen. I can't see it. Maybe for a new school, but not for your trash.
Well, people are pretty passionate about trash. I'm not sure.
I get it. Listen,
Yeah, too.
you know, I had 4 kids, I got 5 grandkids, I got 2 in-laws, you know, we can generate, with the babies alone, with their diapers, I mean, they can fill up a 32-gallon, I mean, for God's sakes, but, you know, I also can't look at it and say, well, from a selfish point of view and from an entitled point of view, and I pay my taxes, and I should be able to throw any damn thing I want, because I pay my taxes. That's just not how it works. If I do that, then I'm looking at it from a very selfish and very immature way, and I hope that my fellow residents share my views that, you know, we're all in this together one way or the other. We got one planet, we got one town. And we got to make the right decisions as best as we can if we want to keep what we got. None of these decisions are going to be easy. What did Shakespeare once say? Heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? Nobody's putting a gun to our head to keep us here, right? These are going to be tough decisions for all of us. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to run away from the tough decisions. They got to be made. Mark?
You all set? Yeah. I just said a couple of things. Hopefully, most of them are constructive, just in terms of thoughts. But the first one is like, you know, tonnage really impacts us. I said this before, but you forced me in a small trash barrel. I'm getting a compactor. My trash barrel is going to be really heavy. So I'm not too sure what, maybe I'm an anomaly and the majority will kind of average out and we will save money. I think, so I received a lot of us received the recycling bin. It's awesome. But I had a question, and that's it. In my particular situation, I have 2 driveways. There's an in-law apartment, and I was wondering, we normally have, we put our trash out separately. And so when I used the little code to look it up on my phone, it wasn't immediately obvious who to call with that question. It brought me, I mean, I could call town hall, I guess, right? But I don't know, I had to kind of fish around. I was hoping that there would be something there. The questions that you kind of get linked in general to the trash site, and then there's questions about like we missed a delivery or something like that, but there was nothing about, this is kind of a one-off delivering these barrels. It's not really tied to that, I think, but I was a little confused as to what to do there and who to talk to.
I believe the
We can take
distributor-
care of that. So as part of the pilot that they're rolling out with the QR codes, we're one of the first communities that are testing it out for them. So we're supposed to give them feedback in terms of the vendor being Rarig. So we can definitely take back that feedback and provide that to them. It is based on a QR, a link that we can put with the actual application that you're seeing, so it can link specifically to our website, it can link to a specific form, it can link to a separate website, so we can make those alterations as necessary. We just need the proper feedback to let us know what we need to do.
Sure.
So just you mentioning that now, we can make those additions and
Yeah.
make sure that we have a contact right on the front and center of that when you do scan it, so that you are fully aware of what you need to do moving forward.
That would be awesome. And double check me, maybe I missed something on there, but I fished around for a little bit. It's not really a question that we have to answer now, but I get confused sometimes when I hear that, obviously it's a lot cheaper if we standardize the barrels and they do an automatic pickup, we got that. But then we talk about potentially having subsidized trash bags, right, which they have to get out of the truck for. So that's something to think about with the RFPs and, whatever.
We don't know yet.
Yep.
There are options that the bag goes on top of the cart and then,
Oh, it goes over? Okay.
they don't have to lift it. We're not into that minute
Sure.
level of detail yet.
Yeah, it's just something to think about as you move forward.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, another thing to think about is, maybe Adam and I will switch, and I'll be CPC, and you can be trash and recycle for one. After this last 20 minutes, I'm like, whoa. And you know what? Listen, As far as recommendations, the Trash and Recycle Committee have been more than open to anybody's suggestions that will help us find a way to control the cost of this line item. We are all ears, 24/7, 365. I think you'll agree. We don't turn down anybody's ideas.
Are you open to sharing the data? So there's a couple curves that I need to be generated. It sounds like you're already doing it, but there's the estimate for trash per year and how that's increasing over the year. There's cost estimates, and it sounds like there's a couple different elements of that and how they could potentially increase over the years. And so historic figures will kind of drive us there, and then the kind of the intercept of those two. And I'm sure you guys are looking at all that, but would you be open to sharing that data so that?
I believe that data is already
We have that
available
data available.
on the website in the Trash and Recycle Committee room, or whatever you want to call it. So all
It
that
has the
data.
hauling costs, the fixed costs, as well as the tonnage costs, and showing how they're increasing in relation to, as well, the recycling costs, which is the processing fee, which is separate.
Okay, I'll take a look there, and then I might email you.
Yeah, there was nothing we've done that we have not tried to be completely transparent and put that out on the website as we gain information, contracts from other towns, municipalities, that we can, learn from, gain the information from. We've tried to be as forthcoming as possible, knowing that this is a very, how should we say, explosive, volatile, touchy subject.
I don't know what the quality of the data is, but if we have enough data, I mean, we could put error bars on that, and we could get kind of fancy with it, and they'd predict, maximum cost based off of, 3% chance we end up in that really expensive territory, and kind of a Gaussian curve of sorts that will fit.
I'm going away next week, but you know what? I'd really like to work with you and Rebecca. I've already got an idea if Rebecca can give me some forward-looking numbers based on some estimates, some crude estimates, and work with you on what that would look like.
Yep.
Based on different estimates of where this line item would be, holding everything else neutral, we'll say.
Sure.
Knowing that that's not reality, but that would give folks kind of a general idea of the fiscal impact of where we could go. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, I'll call you after Labor Day, I get back.
Sure.
All right. Anything else?
No, thank you.
All right, anything to conclude?
Yeah, I just want to go back, based on the discussion we had about perception. I believe the town administrator, Rebecca, had provided me some information at the beginning of the year. I know the chairwoman of the Trash and Recycle Committee had made, even during some of her dissertations, that she's been speaking to some people living in condominiums. I myself live in a condominium also, and I think part of that perception process needs to be conveyed to the select board and to the community in general, that people that live in high-density living, whether it's townhouses, condos, or apartment buildings over a certain size, do not have trash pickup. But as a standard component of our tax bill, it is. And Rebecca was kind enough back at the beginning of the year, based on the value of my home, just for numbers, it came out to be 2.65% of the tax that I pay pays for the trash. This is just a standard thing that we do as part of living in a community, just like the component to pay for the police, the fire. You may never need them, but you pay for that. You have people that have no kids in school, you pay for that. So these are just standard things. But I think to help push this along, whoever does your dissertation to the select board needs to reinforce that we understand that, we'll say 2,000 homes in town have trash pickup, but you got 1,000 that don't. And you changes that you make to the tax component and things like that would affect them. All those people could show up and vote no, because we pay for our own trash pickup. So I could care, I could sit here and say to you, I could care less, but I don't. I think that needs to be brought more to the surface than what it is now. I know during one of your trash and recycle committee meetings, that was mentioned because it was mentioned by your chair, because I believe they have some people they know over at White House or White Horse,
Whitestone?
Whitestone, yes. I know I've mentioned it once or twice, but it only goes as far as that particular conversation and it dies off. I think it needs to be brought to a higher level, just so that people know that at least you acknowledge it. The select board will at least acknowledge the fact that they know that we don't pay. Therefore, if you do a tax increase, if God forbid that was to come about, that would impact us. And in doing so, that may have a negative impact on trying to pass this particular trash recycle motion that, you know, the town wants to do. So I think it's a good component as a matter of perception to kind of add that into the conversation. How you do it, I'm not sure, but I think that would be a good discussion to have with the Trash and Recycle Committee.
Yeah, we can, that's, I'm sure that's been talked about. There's only so much that you can do at the end of the day. We're trying to educate folks. Some will believe what they want to believe. There was a tremendous amount of misinformation already going around. I don't know how to control that sometimes. People are going to believe what they want to believe. Some people believe 2 and 2 is 5. You're never going to change their minds. I don't try to argue with those people because my mother told me better. But as far as the dissertation goes, most of us got our theses a while ago, so there won't be any dissertation to be a presentation maybe. And then the town folks can make up their mind. But as I said before, sitting from a strictly financial point of view, there is no denying the town's folks will pay now or they will pay later. There is no getting around this problem. Burying our heads in the sand and hoping it goes away is not a strategy that I would recommend. It's just not going to be successful. Anyways, anybody have any follow-ups? All right, good. I could just spent 15 rounds with Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. And Joe Frazier didn't go down this time. So we'll move right along and we'll get to the updates for the FY25 year-end close. That was on June 30th of 2025, I believe, was the year-end close. I know I just got the real estate bill for my business and I fell over.
So that is the end of the fiscal year, correct? We have been working to being more directly. The town accountant has been working to close the books for the fiscal year. Things have been running smoothly. We haven't encountered any issues as of date. We're looking at all of our reimbursements through the grants that we have open through both the state and federal to make sure that we're receiving our reimbursements so that we can also follow up with the certification of our free cash for the fiscal year in addition to setting our tax rate. So everything is running smoothly. We are on schedule and we are looking to set the tax rate again in the November timeframe, as we have done historically, but we, again, have not encountered any issues and things have been running smoothly. So hopefully at the next meeting, Ellen will be able to provide you a more in-depth presentation of the year.
Okay. I believe we'll start at this end of the table this time. Brian, any questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Adam? Melissa? Mark?
All set.
I just have one question. So the audit is on time, going to,
So they just started for fiscal year 2025. They started to look at the books in June, so we won't get that report until the January time.
oh, yeah.
Yes.
But it's ongoing, it's being
Yes,
done.
they started the preliminary work in June, and they're scheduled to come in back December.
Yeah, my guys have started on me already. Whole list of requests. I say, you gotta be kidding me. Talk to me when I get back from vacation, I told them. I'm not sure if that's gonna work. All righty, so moving right along, we will go to the update on the FY26 budget.
So I'm not sure if Ellen had an opportunity to send you over the most recent reports. Melissa, did she happen to send those over to you prior to?
Any,
She had gone on vacation, so maybe she had planned to, and things got a little hectic and crazy. But so far, we're in August, so things are looking good. But we are watching a couple of departments closely, just based on some of the turnover and staff and things that are happening. But again, there's nothing that's standing out at this point in time.
Okay, we'll start the discussion at this end of the table. Mark?
No, I don't have anything at this time. It would be good to get those reports, though, just to see where things are at.
Melissa?
nothing.
Adam? Brian?
Yes, I do have one question. You do have, or you just hired a new employee. And if I remember correctly from previous meetings and conversations and things of that nature, their salary is coming from two different departments. When,
Two different sources, I think, is what you mean.
well, one is coming from the planning board and one is coming from, I believe, the Conservation Commission?
So that's the same department. So it's the
Oh, they are the
Economic
same.
Development,
Okay.
Planning,
My
and
oops.
Conservation Department. So it is one department.
Oh, no, because my question was going to be, with the FY '26 operations, that salary will be in that particular paperwork.
So it is documented in two separate line items for the two separate positions, but it is under one department.
Okay, all right, and that will be clearly defined if we want to look at it and review it.
100%.
Okay, thank you. That was it.
I just have one question. Have you had any conversations, have the conversations begun yet with the school on what their budget will look like for this coming year based upon the foreseeable decline in grants from the federal government based upon the Department of Education I don't know what they're doing with that. Honest to God, it gives me a headache. But how that might impact our regional school funding, and that in turn, how it might impact our budget?
So we meet monthly with the school department, being both the town manager in West Newbury as well as the town administrator in Merrimack. And at our last meeting, the superintendent did mention that there was some financial implications due to some of the cuts at the federal level. However, they didn't amount to a figure that they thought would be impactful at this point in time. That's not to say some of their other funding sources that they come through for Title V, I believe was the specific area, would not be impacted. I believe that they, as a result, lost one of their paraprofessionals as part of the funding cuts, but I do not believe, other than that one position and some program funding, that there's been a huge impact, again, at this point in time. So we haven't really dived into whether or not it would have any implications for the upcoming budget discussions for fiscal year 2027. But again, just touched briefly upon what it has already started to do for fiscal year 2026. But it sounds like they have it covered for the remainder of the fiscal year. We have also started to talk about a project to try and forecast a little bit more about what we can expect to see from the school and their budget. A lot of the discussion, again, is focused on what we're getting for state aid, not necessarily federal aid, and that comes back to Chapter 70. We did see that the budget that was passed by the legislature included exploratory committee for Chapter 70. Obviously, that doesn't mean that the Chapter 70 formula is changing anytime soon, and with the committee, we expect it to be another 5 years, if not more, for there to actually be any findings that would be reported, and then any actual legislation that would be put forward that would help with the funding and the formula that's impacting the funding that we're receiving as a regional school district. So we do anticipate to continue to struggle moving forward with our budget, specifically with the school, and trying to figure out exactly what they need in order to function and how we can best accommodate without obviously eating too much into our budget. But we have yet to really kind of dive into that from any figures or numbers that we're looking at. It's a little too early for now. But again, in regards to the federal impact, there has been some, but it doesn't seem like it's been too impactful at this point in time.
Okay. For some reason, I'm very concerned with that line item right now, so if you would, just keep us very close to the
course.
conversation there so we can try to mitigate or be ahead of any potential impact that could really cripple us.
Certainly.
It really worries me. If we're all done with that, we'll move on to the next line item, which is an update from the town administrator. So take it away, Ms. Rebecca.
So I do not have much to report. I just wanted to alert you all that we did receive the ruling from the Attorney General on our warrant articles. They have asked for a 90-day extension for articles. I'm not going to pretend to remember the numbers. I know one of them 16, but they were in 24. So there are 3 warrant articles that the Attorney General has sought an extension for in terms of issuing a ruling. Those are battery energy storage, which is a zoning bylaw change that we just put forward. Then there's also the trash and recycling bylaw that we put forward in terms of the policy of implementing no more than 4 units will receive trash and recycling services, and there's a couple of other dynamics underneath that particular bylaw that they're still reviewing. And then the last one is the Council on Aging had made some amendments to their general bylaw, and those are still under review. We did receive approval from the Attorney General on all of the other warrant articles that were submitted. So that does include the accessory dwelling units, that does include the multifamily, most notably the MBTA 3A zoning, although still needs to be approved by EOHLC. And it also includes the town administrator bylaw, which will have an impact as we move forward with setting the budget, as the authority has been granted to my office to actually present the budget this year. So it will be a slightly different process in terms of what's being presented to you. You'll still have the opportunity to hear from the departments and specifically their requests, but the budget book that you're receiving from me is going to be the budget that I'm putting forward as a town administrator. So there will be a couple of changes in terms of the way that we lay out that process moving forward, and I look forward to collaborating with the board in that regard.
Committee. Okay, we'll start at this end of the table. Mark, anything to,
No, I don't have anything.
Melissa?
On the ADU, so they've approved what we had in our bylaw, correct?
Correct. The amendments that we made that made it compliant with what the state had required in addition to allowing for a special permit to allow for a larger size, was approved by the Attorney General.
Okay, because that ADUs are now back in the news again, where people were trying to do all these restrictions that they have said, oh no, that's too much of a restriction. So just making sure what we have signed, sealed, happy, they're not gonna come back and say, no, we don't like these.
We have the signed paper, so hopefully not.
One go back, great job, actually, is what I did have, because from the way the town meeting was executed, and now the way the follow-through is going, and everything's coming together, so there were a lot of big ones this year.
There was, thank you.
And it's still a couple outstanding, I guess, but it sounds like they're closing.
Yes.
Anything else?
No, that was it.
Adam? Brian?
Yeah, I do have one quick thing. Have been reading the past week or so. Nothing is obviously ironclad, but I just want to know the position that the town will take as far as based upon community standards, and if the law passes to make consumption of marijuana illegal, what policies do we have in place? I mean, I know we have a medical marijuana policy in place, and that's ironclad, that's not changing. But on the other spectrum, I know during the last select board meeting, you had a select board member that's kind of promoting it because they feel it's a business, all these other little things that are coming up. Well, now the state is saying that there may be a possibility to repeal these rules. Besides the fact that we have a community standard in place that doesn't, I believe, allow for that because we voted it as a community, no outside of medical marijuana use. So I'm just curious to know if the town is in a position to kind of set itself up for that if they decide marijuana is now illegal.
Well, is this a finance-related question, or is this a more
Well,
social
Well,
question?
no, it's not so much a financial question as far as the overall view. I mean, from the business perspective, yes. That's why I'm kind of asking.
There is no business in town that has to do with medical or recreational cannabis, so it's really, we don't have any impact.
Okay.
So it's more of a social question. You might
Okay, well,
wanna
no,
discuss that with-
this isn't the time for a social question. I was just asking from the financial side. I thought we had a medical place in town. We don't.
No?
We do not have a medical
Okay,
marijuana
right.
establishment. We do have a medical marijuana bylaw currently.
all right,
And
you
the
can-
Economic Development Committee, from a financial sense, is looking to encourage businesses, and they are looking to explore whether or not retail marijuana
Yeah.
would be a business or a use that they would like to see in town. So the conversation has been open, but as to any rulings or regulations that you're referring to, I'm not familiar with any
Okay,
rulings recently.
that's fine. No, you can scratch it. Never mind, forget it.
Yeah, sadly, when we had the opportunity about 6, 7 years ago to have a medical marijuana, medical cannabis cultivation, we had, sadly enough, we had a select board that was a little bit too short-sighted and narrow-minded to let the conversation continue, or else we might not be in the fiscal position we are today, but it is what it is. But I'm not sure anything will come of it. So that about concludes the agenda, but we will have one more go-round. Any items that were not reasonably presented at the time of the agenda? Mark, you have anything?
Nope. I don't.
Melissa?
No.
Adam?
The minutes from the last meeting?
Ruth is not here, so I imagine,
She did distribute
She
them this
did.
afternoon. I
and
did not have a chance to.
Yes, I got them and I read through them, and they all appeared to be correct as to what we discussed that evening.
unfortunately, it's not on the agenda, so we'll
Yep.
have to put that off till the next meeting. We'll make sure that gets on the agenda along with the minutes of this meeting if we could. Brian, anything else?
Yeah, no, I guess the only other thing is that, will you put together an agenda with dates and everything like Melissa had done, you know?
Nope, I'm gonna fly by the seat of my pants and I'll leave you in the
No.
dark.
Love it.
And we're gonna call you up like 15 minutes before the meeting and say,
Listen,
get ready.
I don't live that far, but is that what you'll do?
No, that is a very good point, and I'm glad you brought that up. There will be an agenda. The agenda will go out as early as possible. I'll try to get it out at least 1 week before the meeting. So what I ask all the committee members would be to come prepared, write down your questions ahead of time so that we don't waste a lot of time. We'd all rather be home with our families, I'm sure, so any time we can save is time, we can spend at home or doing things we'd rather like. And then we can all be on the same page. So yes, you will get an agenda, and I will try to get that out 1 week before the next meeting so that everybody has plenty of time to do their homework, prepare, write down all the questions they want to ask, and we'll have some fun. That good?
That's good. I think Melissa did an excellent job getting us through the last couple of years, at least since I've been on the board and long before it. And it's appreciated. So the bar's high for you, sir.
Ms. Baker certainly did set the bar extremely high for anybody that follows in her footsteps. And as I said at the beginning, I'm extremely thankful that you've shown the faith and confidence in me that I can steer this committee anywhere near as well as Ms. Baker has for the last 2 years. Her commitment has been extraordinary. Her efforts have been exceptional, and her knowledge is always second to none on this committee. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And on behalf of all the folks out there in town, whether you want to say it or not, thank you on their behalf too. I know they want to say it, they just don't have the time and they don't know where to find you, so I'm going to do it on their behalf. Anything else? Okay, anybody want to?
Next meeting?
Next meeting will be,
It's the 17th, it's the third Wednesday.
is it? All right, how's the 17th good for everybody?
Should be.
Brian's looking through he's got a busy schedule over here.
Well, I do have other boards and committees
Yeah, you see what I
outside of
mean?
this,
Like,
but-
One day I don't have anything.
yeah,
So what is
I
this?
think
What would you
all
say?
of us are wearing
17th.
multiple hats.
I'm good, 17th's good.
Okay, so the next meeting will be at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, the 17th of September. And is 6 o'clock still a good time for everyone?
Yes, sir, it is.
Anybody have a preference to move it up or move it back?
No, I'm okay with 6.
Okay. Leave it at 6. It gets me out of work early, too, so I'm good with it. Anything else?
No.
If there is nothing else, then I'll be looking for a motion to,
Motion to adjourn, 7:28 PM.
And I second it.
okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor? Perfect. Motion. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Started working on my laptop bag.
So,